In this video, I'm going to show you 5 ways that you can improve your lead list if you're doing a Google Maps scrape. So this is typically if you're going to be targeting small to medium sized local businesses and you are reaching out to them via email or sometimes trying to get their phone number and reaching out to them over the phone or SMS. Okay, so if you're doing cold email targeting local businesses, you're probably going to want to do a Google Maps scrape. This is because a lot of small local businesses, they're not going to necessarily be on LinkedIn. So the next biggest data source that you can pull from is going to be Google Maps. And this is typically when you use a search term and location. So you might say med spas in Austin, Texas, right? So essentially what that is doing is it's going to med spas Austin, Texas, right? It's going to be doing this on maps. And it's going to be pulling the data from the sites that pop up. That's essentially what a Google Maps scrape is. The problem is that a lot of this data is not very good. Okay, and so if you email a list that's not very good or you call a list that's not very good, it's a waste of your time, it's a waste of their time. It can run into lots of different issues. So how do you improve that lead list? We have done this in 2 different capacities. One for our own agency when we were a restaurant marketing agency targeting restaurants. This is how we built our lists. And then secondly, now we do this for a range of different, mostly marketing agencies or other B2B companies. When they're targeting smaller local businesses, this is how we're going to build those lists for them. So when we were first targeting restaurants, we would do a Google Maps scrape and we would go through the domains and would see that most of them were pretty crap. So for example, if you're scraping the top, 200, you might be somewhere down here and you might be looking at all the domains and you could manually go through these once you've done a scrape and you could see that. Let's go to the website. Oops. You might come to the conclusion that this one's okay, and this one is not okay. This is not somebody that you'd want to reach out to for whatever reason, okay? So in this case, it's because their website looks like it's got a firewall on it. So when you're doing a Google Maps scrape, you want to be able to remove those. And so when we used to do it manually with our VAs. However, now that we've done this for 50 plus agencies, I have a few ways to do this, which are way easier. So number 1, don't scrape by category, scrape by search term. So there is tools out there that can scrape by category. So you can select like restaurants or you can select, whatever. There's other tools out there where you can write the search term. So for example, instead of restaurants, you could use a search term like steakhouses or bistros, and you would get essentially higher quality restaurants, right? Because on average, a steakhouse is making more money than your average restaurant and a bistro is making more money than your average restaurant. So just by changing the search terms within the niche, you're getting higher quality or bigger companies. Another way you could do this is you could search by service type. So for example, instead of, let's say, med spas, and again, I'm just doing this in Google, but you'd be doing it in whatever software you're using that's going to do the scrape. Instead of doing a med spa scrape, you could do laser treatment. Right. And see how it gets you a slightly different scrape here. And these are all going to be laser hair removals, which have some crossover with med spas, but you could find a certain search term which is, just like the higher ticket clients only offer this service, and you could use that service. And so we use Phantom Buster to do this because we can pick the exact search term. It's a bit more expensive than some other tools. I'm sure there's other tools on the market which allow you to scrape via search instead of by a category, which could be potentially cheaper or better than Phantom Buster. So that is one way that you can improve these lists. And the second easy way to do this is remove companies with less than 5 Google reviews. So typically when you do a scrape, one of the data points that they're going to give you is Google review score and quantity of Google reviews. And if you're targeting local businesses, typically they care about the number of Google reviews. right? So just remove the ones that have less than 5 Google reviews, because essentially they're going to be the smallest ones, and that's going to improve the overall quality of the list by just cutting out the smallest ones on that list. You can use Clay to confirm they're actually that type of business. So an example, if you haven't used Clay before, don't worry, this is a really simple one. So essentially, all we've done here is we've done a Google Maps scrape, and then we've got their name and domain, and we've uploaded them into this, which is essentially just a sheet, right? And then what you can do is you can integrate this with some form of AI, your AI of choice, and you can ask it to go to this domain and essentially check something for you. So I've said here, does this company at this domain offer med spa services? Respond yes or no. And so any of them which don't offer med spa services are going to reply with no, and then we're going to remove them from the list. So this is a spa, not necessarily a med spa, right? And so they've been removed from the list. So that is another way that you can do that. And I would honestly recommend you do this for all of your lists, not just ones through a Google Maps scrape. Secondly, you can also use Clay to filter by service offered. So for example, we use this for car detailers because there's a whole range of car detailers. Some of them have their own like shop that you bring your car to and they do the detailing. Some of them are like come out and clean your car seats. So there's a wide range of them, and we only wanted to be reaching out to the higher end ones, and higher end ones offered this thing called paint protection film, which is essentially like a high ticket service that you can put on your car. So we would say you'd use Clay in the exact same way here. Instead of the question being, does this company offer med spa services? You'd say, go to this domain and see if they offer paint protection film as a service, yes or no. And all the ones that were no, you could remove from the list. And again, this would tighten and increase the quality of the leads on that lead list. And finally, scrape less. So typically you'd put in like a category or search term and you'd pick a number of how many companies you want to scrape, right? You want to scrape 200, let's say. So you'd do laser treatment Austin and you would scrape, and it's going to go through and scrape the top 200. But you can probably guess that the top 50 of these are probably going to be the best. They're going to, at least in the eyes of Google, they're going to be the best for these search terms. And so typically, the lower you get in the list, the less aligned they are with this search term, laser treatment in Austin. So if it's a really big niche, let's say like restaurants, the top restaurants that are going to come up are going to be the most popular, or at least the most online. And so those might be the ones that you want to reach out to. So often, if we're working with bigger niches, or there's a problem with the quality on some of the leads in the lead list, we might cut it down to from a 200 to a 50 or a 75. And again, bear in mind, if you're scraping New York or Los Angeles, like you can probably do a bigger scrape than if you're scraping Austin, Texas, or some smaller city. So hopefully you got some value out of this video on how to improve your Google Maps scrape lead lists. If you have any questions, please leave them down below in the comments and I will get back to you as soon as I can. If you want to have a chat with me or somebody in our team, there should be a link below this video and we can tee up a chat. Peace.